For those who have witnessed a wedding objection during the speak now or forever hold your peace portion, what happened? The groom himself, he just stood up there and started crying and, in front of everyone, told the bride that he'd fallen out of love with her a while before but he didn't know how to break it off. It was extremely uncomfortable. They both stepped out, and 10 minutes later came back out and got married, because she'd apparently told him she was pregnant. They're still together, with 3 kids, and I'm not sure about the husband but I can confirm that the wife is having an affair. Neither of them are happy, but she has a comfortable life and he doesn't have the spine to leave. At my cousin's wedding when the exchanging of vows took place, my aunt shouted wasn't there supposed to be a part where you could object, or something along those lines. A member of my wife's family had a pirate-themed wedding. A rival pirate appeared and objected to the wedding. The groom dueled him with rapiers and won. Nobody had said speak now, but the groom's ex still decided to get up and scream that he was her soulmate, that she forgave him for this whole thing, and that they should leave now because he'd proven his point by breaking up with her 5 years earlier, falling in love, and holding a wedding. I ate so much cake and got so drunk at that wedding. Meanwhile everyone else was screaming and throwing it. Good times. The bride was my boyfriend's ex. No idea why they invited us. One of my friends interrupted his cousin's wedding to come out of the closet. He couldn't understand why people were so pissed at him. Edit. This was the second time my friend had come out to his family. The first time was when he was a teenager, about 8 years earlier, and 90% of his family that was attending said wedding was already aware. This happened very recently, but in a different manner than the other comments I'm seeing. For years, groom and best man are super close, room together, and the running joke is that they're more than friends. Later on, groom meets bride, falls in love, and proposes. New running joke is that best man is very disappointed that groom is marrying someone else. At the wedding, officiant asks if anyone has objections. Best man objects. Officiant quickly overrules the objection. It was planned, and bride thought it was a funny way to acknowledge the super close friendship between groom and best man. Did not result in anyone being kicked out or awkwardness. Fun and surprisingly appropriate. I was at an outdoor ceremony once, with a storm coming in. The pastor was trying to move things along so that we wouldn't get caught in the rain. The reception was indoors. He asked if anyone knows of any objection, and instantly, there was a loud clap of thunder. To his credit, the pastor just paused a moment and then said, "Anyone else? Alright, in that case," and finished the ceremony. Edit. The couple is still together, and happily as far as I know. I was the +1, so I'm not super close to them. So take that, passive-aggressive supernatural objector. Only once, but it was non-romantic. The father of the bride had been pretty absentee after her parents' divorce. He had remarried and gotten into the Christian Science religion and they were both pretty terrible. The new wife was not invited to my friend's wedding but the father came and it seemed like he was there to be supportive. He stood up during vows and proclaimed my friend was just like her mother and the groom should get out while he can because my friend was a soul-leeching succubus. Not the worst wedding I ever went to. What do you mean not the worst? Story time. I'm 30 and I'm starting to think I may be bad luck because I've been to a few disasters when most people can't name one. The highlights would be the ceremony being interrupted because the woman the groom was seeing on the side appeared with their baby. Yes, their secret love baby, and the groom explaining that polygamy is natural and we should be more open-minded. The bride, my former college roommate, insisting on driving herself to the wedding and getting a DUI en route, then making an ill attempt at seducing the officer to get out of it, being turned down and subsequently slapping the officer and getting arrested for assault. Waiting for a co-worker on one of those sunset cruises, engine fails and starts a small fire and everyone had to evacuate the boat. +1 to a wedding, the couple were completely scammed by their wedding planner. Venue wasn't actually booked, no caterer, no cake, no DJ, no nothing. She scammed them out of thousands. 250 guests milling about in a town center parking lot. They of course reported her but I don't think they were ever able to recover much of their money. Went to a co-worker's wedding and the maid of honor objected and admitted to being the other woman and that the groom had been cheating with her for months. The bride left in tears and the groom immediately tried to get with the mop, but she told him she wasn't gonna hurt the bride further and that he needs to duck off. The bride is doing much better and is now a manager here, and I haven't heard from the groom in over a year. The ma and bride are on speaking terms, but I don't think their relationship is gonna ever be what it used to be. I saw it nearly happen at my uncle's wedding. A friend of theirs got too drunk, and when they said speak now, he smiled, started to stand up. My mother grabbed him by his hair and sat him back down by force. Edit. Clarification and context. It was my mother, the groom's sister. The drunk was a close friend of both the bride and groom, so he was seated up front. He's a nice dude but sometimes a bit of a dumbus. It was a small non-traditional wedding. They were wed in the botanical gardens by a justice of the peace. The reception was held in the same place. When you entered the area for the wedding reception, there was an open bar, so some people helped themselves before the ceremony started, and one overindulged a bit. When I was 13, we went to my second cousin's wedding. Everything is going great. They even got past the speak now or forever hold your peace part. They wrote their own vows, but before my second cousin's fiancée wife could even begin her vows, his son got up, announced to the entire room that she was cheating on his dad with her drug dealer and he couldn't let his dad marry her. My second cousin yelled at his son to either sit down or leave. The son left. My second cousin married her anyways, and 5 years and 1 baby later he finds out it was true and they separated, but were too tweaked out to be able to afford a divorce. Finally he got married a third time, but before he could get married, his third now ex-wife had to pay for their divorce. This wedding had no objections. They moved to Missouri, and this time instead of separating or asking for a divorce, he decided he didn't want to be married anymore and just moved back to Cali to get back together with his second ex-wife. Yet family dinners are a little awkward. My friend almost paid me to do it at my dad's marriage and I was so close to agreeing, but my dad overheard and stopped me. I would have done it for free if I knew how ducking crazy that stupid woman was back then. It was at my wedding that we had at my grandmother's house, who lives out in the country next to a cattle farm. The cows didn't make a peep till that moment and one finally went moo. We all laughed and continued, but it was a funny moment about my wedding. About 5 years ago, a co-worker of mine invited all of us to his wedding. He was a great guy, but none of us had ever met his wife, seen pictures of her, and he always said nothing but good things of her. Fast forward to the wedding. It was an incredibly nice one. Looks like they paid quite a bit for it. Everything was going smooth and I was having fun, and assume so was everyone else. Anyway, now they're both at the altar or whatever, looking deeply into each other's eyes and smiling, and when that line comes of speak now or forever hold your peace, I get anxious, but nothing ever happens. So right as soon as the anxiousness faded away, the bride's mother stood up and objected, blurted something about how she doesn't want to continue their family with a man like him. He was black, she was white. The bride-to-be cried, ran off. Wedding went ducking silent. Bride's dad took the mom and ran after the bride. The groom stood there incredibly awkward. He may or may not have achieved actually leaving his body. Anyway, the groomsmen took him away. I left because it was too weird. Apparently, the reception went on. They did not get married that day, but ended up together anyway privately, and surprisingly work wasn't weird. He laughed about it, and they are happily married. A wedding I was at, one guy got up and pledged his undying love for the bride, followed by 4 or 5 others objecting for various reasons, including one guy's love for the groom. By the second or third objection, though, it was clear that the whole thing was a clever ruse. I found out later that it was all set up by the bride as a prank on the unsuspecting groom and family and friends. It was pretty hilarious. The best man at my stepsister's wedding did this. It happened at the rehearsal the night before. It was a very large wedding and the rehearsal was bigger than a lot of weddings. The minister was going over the vows quickly while giving instruction on what to do. When he said something about objections, the best man interrupted, saying he had to put a stop to this. He was in love with the bride and was sure she felt the same way. My sister and everyone else was horrified. It caused plenty of chaos and confusion. As far as I know, after that neither the bride nor groom ever spoke to him again.